Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plugged In from YA Electric. My name is Justin Fisher. Justice is joining me again today. How are you, Justice?
I am doing well today. How are you?
Awesome. We've had 3 inches of rain at my house since
Oh,
midnight in just one day. So, I mean, I like rain, doesn't ruin my day, but luckily I don't live at the bottom of the valley where flooding is happening. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I could figure out if my Ionic 5 is submersible, but not really feeling like voiding my warranty right now.
Does that
Yeah.
void the warranty?
Well, if I talk about it on YouTube, probably. So I don't know if Hyundai has their eyes on me. We'll see. But today's headline topic, we're going to talk about EV tax credits expiring for more automakers. There's a few more that are just around the corner. The EV tax credits at the federal level have been essential for making electric vehicles more affordable for some car buyers, but not all. And we'll talk about that. We've got Tesla news, new numbers from Tesla. We've got a new concept from Mini, which I think is particularly interesting because Ray, the one and only Ray Shefska,
Oh,
he loves Mini. Volkswagen, going to talk about them, and we'll see what else comes to mind in the show. So, Justice, pop quiz. What's the coolest EV you saw on the road last week?
uh, well, the Rivian for me.
Okay. Yeah, I do like seeing a Rivian. Like, no matter what business dealings and, you know, ups and downs they've had at their executive level and their finances, I still just love seeing a Rivian on the road. I think they're
Yeah,
pretty awesome. It's easy to forget about the mixed headlines when you see one.
yeah. I try not to judge the actual vehicle by what the upper management is doing.
Yes,
Um,
I
I,
agree.
it's just a really nice vehicle. I really like it, and they look really cool out on the road.
Yeah. I saw a Volvo C40 for the
Mhm.
first time. I had seen XC40 recharges, but I liked it more than I thought I would. I mean, it was a little bit too compact for my family, but still, I mean, not too compact. I just like my Ionic 5 better. That's what I'm trying to say. Still, it was a nice looking car. Yeah, we're going to have plenty to talk about today. I guess let's dive into the tax credits because Toyota has surpassed 200,000 EV sales. And according to the way that the federal EV tax credit was written in 2008 and then amended in 2009, there's a cap. So once any automaker hits that 200,000 sale cap, surprise, a phase out period begins. And in 1 year, buyers will no longer be eligible to claim up to $7,500 on your federal taxes. It's non refundable, so that means you claim up to the amount of your tax liability. One big complaint that I have about the existing federal EV incentives, and many others would agree with me, is that lower income households are not able to take full advantage of the 7,500 tax credit. If you only owe 5,000 in federal taxes this year, you're only going to be able to claim up to that amount. That's not a good way of incentivizing EVs for the masses. But we'll talk a little bit about what might happen for revising these tax credits. But Justice, I want to just read your mind, or not read your mind. I want to see what you're thinking. Yeah, I want you to tell me what's on your mind. With this news that Toyota's out of tax credits, just as the BZ4X, the first fully electric vehicle from Toyota, hits the American market. Remind us, how did we get here? How did we run out of tax credits as the first EV is going on sale? And what do you think this is going to mean for Toyota's EV success?
Well, I mean, so in 2008, it made sense. There were very few vehicle EVs out there. Tesla was bursting onto the scene with a $100,000 vehicle. So it somewhat made sense to do this EV tax credit. $100,000 vehicle, you probably have a $7,500 tax liability if you can afford that vehicle. So in 2008, this all made sense. As we go forward and we want to see mass adoption of EVs, that tax credit doesn't really even make a lot of sense. As you said, it's the lower income, even middle class, don't necessarily have that kind of tax burden. Sure would be nice to see this as a optional down payment. to pay
Yeah.
down at the beginning of it. I think that would be, and I know that gets debated. I don't know. I haven't heard about the debate for a while there.
Yeah.
And then, coming through with Toyota, I think every OEM needs to sort of not be counting on that tax credit to sell to their customers. Like that needs to not be something they're selling. If they can take advantage of it, sure, great, but that shouldn't be figured into their pricing strategy at all.
Yeah.
Because again, there's only a select few people who can get it in the first place, and then if you want mass adoption, you got to make them cheaper. And I know Toyota's just not, electric's not their focus at the moment. So
Hmm.
they're putting this out, but I know hybrid is their big thing. So, we'll see where they go from that as far as Toyota goes.
Yeah, we're going to touch more on that too because there's a point in the chat that I personally agree with. If you can afford $100,000 car, you probably don't need the tax credit. I agree.
I
Uh,
mean, you don't need it, but the way you can probably afford that $100,000 car is that you do take all the tax credits you can get.
yeah, it's
That's how you
complicated.
have all that money in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, ooh, yeah. Ooh, we're not gonna get too
Yeah.
deep into that, but oh man, um, I can't help but wonder if the funding that basically has gone into, budgeting for the federal EV tax credit would not be better used on infrastructure for EVs. Um, because we've seen General Motors who exhausted their federal EV tax credit allocations when they exceeded 200,000 sales, I guess entirely with the Chevy Bolt. Back in early 2020, it was in the phase out ended. They've been out of these tax credits for 2 years, and next year they're bringing a more affordable EV to market, the Equinox EV, starting at around $35,000 for the versions of the EV that most people would want to buy. We don't have official pricing yet, but what I'm saying is that General Motors says, Mary Barra, CEO General Motors, she says time and time again that the way that they're going to catch up to Tesla and take EV market share and grow their business as a whole is to not do what Tesla has done and try to actually go for mass market affordability. I know that was and I guess is a goal of Tesla's, and I hope it still happens. I hope there are more $35,000 Teslas. I'd probably buy one. But for now, it's just not the reality. I mean, the cheapest Model 3 long range, no, let's say standard range, which I guess now is called rear wheel drive. It goes for what, 47,000?
Yeah,
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah. And the
But
Model
yeah.
Y starts at about 65,000. So what I'm saying is if GM, Ford, Toyota, Honda, others, if they can offer affordable EVs at MSRP without outrageous dealer markups, that's going to be a challenge of its own. Um, then we may not be relying on an EV tax credit, which in the end, that would be a good thing, right? Because competition should be able to drive prices down. But keep in mind, at the same time where price parity was approaching for EVs, where an EV costs on average the same as a combustion vehicle, you have the war in Ukraine driving up raw materials for various European and Asian EV producers. You've got inflation, of course. um, we know that the cost of raw materials that goes into an electric vehicle is twice that of a combustion vehicle.
And
And
raising.
yes, and rising quickly. So all of that is working against lowering EV prices. EVs are getting more expensive. Um, could General Motors do what they say they're going to do and bring affordability to electrification? That would be awesome. I mean, they
Well,
officially unveiled the Blazer just the other day.
I think the advantage that General Motors and others have that Tesla did not is the possibility of Tesla opening up their supercharging network and having 36,000 new supercharging connections at everyone's disposal. Tesla had to go to the route of the super expensive vehicles so they could put that money into building this infrastructure because they didn't get public money to do that. They needed it to offset it with the price of their vehicles. And now they have 36,000 stalls. So, if they open up to the public like they say they're going to, and now they're applying for federal money to build more, that gives everybody a leg up because GM's not having to build all these charging stations themselves. So they don't have to build the cost of the land and the equipment and the power all into their vehicles. They can lower the price of their vehicles for mass market adoption at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, Ford has kind of let us down because the Lightning Pro, I mean, not, well, the Lightning Pro is the cheapest option, but the F-150 Lightning was supposed to be a somewhat affordably priced mass market truck, which is a hot selling segment here in the US. F-150 Lightning, top selling vehicle. Um, but I can't help but wonder with what you're saying, like, how much are dealer markups going to ruin this?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
uh,
I mean, unless the dealers come down to earth, and they're not going to, let's be honest. They're not going to stop with these markups, even as the market softens a little bit that we've seen here. I don't see any of the markups dropping on top of them. Actually, I see more dealers digging in their heels on the markups now. Even Mazda, which 3 weeks ago you could get pretty easily at MSRP, now those dealers are going in for the markups too. So I don't see the markups on EVs going away for non-direct to consumers anytime soon.
yep. Yep. Yes, indeed. We have a question in the chat about hybrid tax credits. So correct me if I'm wrong, Justice, but at the federal level, the $7,500 federal EV tax credit, it's good for plug-in hybrids and fully electric vehicles. Hybrids are so popular these days that I don't think the government could allocate enough money in their budget for throwing out tax credits for hybrids, but at the state level, there may be some kind of incentive
Yeah,
where you live. So definitely look into state level incentives. But I want to mention that's how Toyota got to 200,000 at the same time that they're just starting to sell their first fully electric vehicle in the US. It's been the success of their plug-in hybrids. Now, it's the RAV4 Prime and the Prius Prime. Those are the two big ones here in the US. What are their all electric ranges? It's probably around 30 to 40 miles. I believe the
yeah,
RAV4 Prime is that's pretty significant for a plug-in hybrid. I'm going to look it up.
yeah. I think they're just under 40 miles. Might be
Let's
50 with the
see. It says
Prius.
42 for the Prime, for the RAV4 Prime. That's pretty good. Now, you may be expecting me to trash 42 miles of electric range, but remember that's on top of a hybrid powertrain setup. So it's not like this RAV4 Prime can only go 42 miles. Nope, it can go 42 fully electric miles and then probably another 400 as a traditional hybrid. So I want everyone to remember that plug-in hybrids are a great option if you travel a lot, cannot find EV availability and affordability right now. You may have better luck finding a plug-in hybrid, but even those have had really low inventory
Yeah,
because of the supply shortages.
you're not going to find the RAV4 Prime. Get that just get that out there. You're not going to find the RAV4 Prime. There are 43 of them allocated in the United States that are not pre-sold already.
So I take that
43.
back. Yeah, I
So
take
you're
that
not going
back.
to find. You can find a Prius Prime a little bit easier, but you're not finding a RAV4 Prime.
Yeah. Let's talk about the BZ4X because that is Toyota's first fully electric vehicle that was going on sale, but they're still working through a stop sale because of a luckily non-powertrain related recall that they're working through with about 1,000 BZ4Xs that had made it to American shores, most of them at dealership lots. There was a risk of the wheels falling off, and I'm not even gonna just make fun of that right now because I've done that too many times. I've used up all of my BZ4X trash passes, so I'll just say that I think the front wheel drive trim of the BZ4X is much more attractive than the all-wheel drive version. Front wheel drive, 250 miles of EPA rated range. That's solid range. It still is not the best at charging, but if you don't travel very often, you travel a few times a year, it might be doable for you with the front wheel drive version. It charges at up to 150 kilowatt speeds. That's not bad. But for the all-wheel drive version, I believe it's capped at 100 kilowatts. I gotta look this up, but it is not good. There are real-world charging tests out there on YouTube right now with the all-wheel drive BZ4X here in the States, and they were taking over an hour to charge from 10% to 90%. With
Yeah.
the way I travel with a 6-year-old in the back seat, that wouldn't cut it.
No, no, and I mean, yeah, on a road trip, no way. The BZ4X all-wheel drive, for all-wheel drive, unless you're driving in a snowy area around town, um, it's not a good off-road vehicle, that's for sure. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially at the charging speeds.
Yeah, so I got the numbers pulled up. It's because the front wheel drive and all wheel drive variants of the BZ4X have battery packs made by two different manufacturers. The front wheel drive variant has a battery made by Panasonic that is capable of charging at up to 150 kilowatts. I mean, that's better than the ID4. That's on par with the Mustang Mach-E. That's not horrible for the front wheel drive variant. It also gets about 252 miles of EPA rated range. That's not bad. But the video we've had that has like, I don't know, 11,000 views, and a lot of people were upset with me because I was hating the BZ4X. It's because right now the BZ4X is in the United States available for test drives, for journalists, and on dealership lots. They're the all wheel drive variants. That's what we have right now. And it's going to be only able to charge at 100 kilowatt speeds because that's how CATL, the battery manufacturer, happened to engineer that particular battery pack. And it only gets about 225 miles, I think 227 of EPA rated range. So that means realistically on the highway, when you travel, you'd be going about 180 miles and then charging for like an hour and 10 minutes every 180 miles. I'm not okay
Yeah.
with that. I mean, maybe you are, maybe the viewers out there are okay with that if you don't travel a lot, but I like stopping every 180, 200 miles and charging for 25 minutes. I can't imagine like an hour and 10.
No, I mean, I do a 500-mile trip once a quarter, and I couldn't stop for an extra 4 hours.
Yeah. Justice, help me out with this because I know the Nissan Leaf, I believe, most trims, most options for the Nissan Leaf are capped at 55 kilowatt charging speeds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So would this be roughly on par? Well, I don't know.
I think it would be faster than the Leaf. Yeah,
It'd be
I
faster.
mean that's not a high bar, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's faster than a Leaf. I would not take a Leaf on a long road trip.
Yeah.
Leaf is also a great neighborhood vehicle. If you're one who doesn't take a lot of trips, or you have a second car to take long trips, and you need something around to get to and from work and stuff, Z4X, those are great for that,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
We have John in the chat saying that he likes stopping every 300 miles on road trips. That's
Yeah,
not me. I'll be honest. My bladder cannot handle that.
I'm
T-
with John. I'm with John. I do one stop in my 500-mile trip once a quarter, and that's it.
uh,
Like I'm with him on that. On the way back, I stopped several times because I just don't want to come home. But realistically, I want to hurry up and get there kind of guy.
yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. I've got plenty of friends who don't see EVs as practical because you have to stop on the highway. This is at highway speed, so you're using more energy. You're going to have to stop in most EVs every 200 miles. If you can afford a Lucid Air or a Tesla Model S, you could probably stretch that to 300, 400 miles in the Model S and Lucid Air. However, mass market EVs on the highway, it's like 200. Now, here's something I want to remind everyone. I'm okay with some of these minor inconveniences and the occasional major inconvenience, like when a charger is not working. Because my family, we're saving about $150 a month on fuel. We've done the math. That includes charging costs at home and free charging at Electrify America. Um, versus what we were paying in our Subaru Forester. So we've decided we're willing to put up with that inconvenience to save $150. Justice, we've got some interference, some noise interference. We're gonna solve the problem. Wonderful. Let's see what's going on in the chat.
How about now?
I still hear it. Nope, still hear it.
No. Well, there's air conditioning outside.
It's like a popping noise. Those of you in the chat, let us know. Can you hear the popping noise, or could it be
the
just
popping?
me?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But let's go over some news real quick before we call it a day. Well, actually, I'll let you guys down. We promised you we would talk about which automakers are next with losing the EV tax credit. Nissan and Ford. Nissan's closer, but Ford's going to get there first because of the success of the Mustang Mach-E and the Ford F-150 Lightning Pro. I agree with this comment right here, Justice. Might be this. I don't know.
I'm not using the microphone on my AirPods.
Okay. It's just like a loud popping noise. You don't hear it,
Fully
though?
charged. I don't hear it.
So it must be coming from your side because the rest of us hear it. All right. I can barely hear you now. You're breaking up. All right, I'll fill the guys in on the latest news with Nissan and Ford. So Nissan's only like 40,000 sales away from reaching the 200,000 sale cap for the tax credit. They've got the Nissan Ariya on the way, but the Nissan Leaf, they just announced that they're probably going to kill it off, and they were only selling like 3,000 or 4,000 Nissan Leafs per quarter. So what I'm saying is that even though Nissan is closest to reaching the cap, they're probably still a year away from reaching it. And we can't forget that once you hit the 200,000 sale cap, you start a 1-year phase out period where it gets halved every 2 quarters. So it goes from 7,500 to what? 3,750, and then from 3,750 to I don't know what's half of 3,750. Math. 1,770, I think. Yeah, so we're getting there. Thank you, Justice. The popping is stopped, but you are quiet. So if you need to lean in.
Okay, is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Okay. So, yeah. Sorry about that. Software issues.
It's all right. It happens all the time. Even on the Ray and Zach show, which is coming up in just 35 minutes. I want to talk about Volkswagen. This gets me excited because just the other day or yesterday, GM announced that they're getting a massive $2.4 billion grant, or not grant, take that back, loan from the U.S. Department of Energy to make batteries. Now, why am I relating that to Volkswagen? Because the GM battery production plant will be made here in America, in Tennessee, I believe. They say it's going to bring 5,000 jobs. Now, Volkswagen has announced that they've just added 1,000 jobs to their Chattanooga, Tennessee plant for building the ID4 here in America. I love the ID4. If it charged 20% faster and did not have a laggy screen, I've experienced that laggy infotainment screen myself, I'd probably have gone that route because it was about $5,000 cheaper. Given at the time that I was on the market, Volkswagen was hardly able to ship any ID4s to American shores because of supply shortages. But still, I'm a big fan of the ID4. So I think this is huge news. They're also confirming that a more affordable, lower range variant is to be built in Tennessee as well. That's supposed to start around $35,000, $36,000. Keep in mind, Volkswagen will continue to qualify for the federal EV tax credit for quite some time. So, Justice, what's your take on this exciting news from Volkswagen bringing ID4 production to our shores?
Oh, I think it's great. It's, a lot more collaboration is happening in the EV space. See a lot of more partnerships from one group to another, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. I think it's just going to keep growing from here. Honda partnering up, and
and Volkswagen, and the more collaborations that happen, the more we're going to start seeing these affordable EVs with some good numbers. So I'm excited about it. I love the building. Everyone seems to be choosing the South to build their plants in, bringing in tons of jobs, not just children,
Yeah.
but adults in the jobs.
Yeah,
Um,
he's referring to recent news about Hyundai's supplier, who they have a majority stake in. One of Hyundai's suppliers, I believe, in Alabama,
uh,
maybe Georgia.
Louisiana, I think it was Louisiana.
Okay,
Was
somewhere
it?
down there.
Yeah,
They were caught having teenagers who were under the age of legal working age working there. Yeah. So, anyways,
yeah,
sad
as young as
situation.
12, and a
Yes,
lot of them, a
that's
lot of
very
them.
sad. I didn't know that. I didn't know the details. I should look into that after the show. But yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with what you're saying. Bring us jobs, don't hire kids.
yeah.
Easy slogan, right?
Don't hire 12-year-olds. Make sure they're in school instead, and
Yeah.
then bring the jobs on. I think it's fantastic. And there's with the labor shortage and everything, there's a lot of opportunity there to get people from around the world to come in and bring jobs in there. I think it's a fantastic thing that's happening right now.
Yeah. And going back to this, I want to point out Mark's comment. Thank you for joining us, Mark. I saw your message on the YA community, but I did not get a chance to respond. Mark, I'll talk to you soon. He says, I like the Tesla facility in Austin. They built the battery manufacturing plant about 200 yards from the assembly building. Yeah, that is awesome. I am by no means a Tesla hater, even though I drive a Hyundai Ioniq 5. I would love to see Tesla continue to grow and dominate the market. I feel like the autonomous driving aspect is probably a little bit further down the road than Justice would agree with, but I still
Yep.
love Teslas. I still love Teslas.
And
Igor in
and
the
the
chat.
Austin factory is going to get to what, 1,000 a week by the end of next month
Yeah, yeah.
ish. So I mean that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and we can't even get into it today, but I do agree with what Igor said. There is also the calculation of where your energy is going to come from with electrification. Now, I am going to talk about it for a minute, if you guys don't mind, because this is fascinating. And Igor, I'm sure you would be able to share more. In Europe and in the United States, we get a lot of our energy from natural gas. And I believe in the United States, it's pretty close to 50%. It's a lot. Natural gas largely replaced coal because it's somewhat cleaner, but then you got to calculate the effects of the methane that comes from the natural gas wells, and that's horrible. But anyways, I want to point this out because now that Russia is cutting down Europe's natural gas by down to just 20% of the original amount, Europe and their electrification plans, they have to be thinking about, well, are they going to be able to supply enough electricity from natural gas to their own electrical grid to fully electrify transportation? That's just an example that I wanted to mention of how there are lots of nuances and complicated things that go into electrifying the global mobility, really.
And from my personal point of view, um, I look at that and I go, well, isn't that an argument that you guys should have already moved away from this kind of power generation, and you should have already thought about alternative energy before
Yeah.
now? And certainly, hopefully, this is a catalyst to go to some alternative energy. I know that
Europe.
doesn't just mean solar and just wind. It's a whole host of things, but I think California is a great example, and I don't say that very often. But California is a great example. 99.87% of our energy is green renewable energy. Energy independence is so much more important now than it's ever been.
Yeah, Europe is quite a bit further ahead when it comes to renewable energy than most other parts of the world. However, those things take time. And I've done some work for the utility sector of electricity generation, particularly in the solar energy world in the past. And what I've learned is that you can have all the great ideas that you want and the best intentions and the money to do it. But even if you've got the money to do it, it's probably going to take 5 years to get it done. But I agree with
Oh,
what you
at
said,
least.
Justice. Yeah. And I think this is going to lead to more battery shortages. So this is how I'm tying it back to EVs. Let me tell you how. Because One solution, a clear solution, but an expensive solution, is that Europe is going to be increasing, solar, wind energy, but these are intermittent power supplies. Let's be honest, sun's not always shining, wind's not always blowing. So what do? You get utility scale battery storage to supply the grid and stabilize it out using machine learning. You've got all these crazy technologies that basically use computer code to control the grid and to control energy allocation. But what does that mean? You're going to need more batteries for energy production, and that's going to cause supply chain issues for batteries in very short order. That's going to affect the electric vehicle sector. Crazy, right? Crazy. What should we talk about next? We could probably keep this going for 5 minutes. We should talk about the mini concept.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the Aceman and I immediately thought of Ray. I thought, hey, I want to ask Ray if he's going to get an Aceman next. That's going to
Yeah,
be his next car.
let's see if my screen share is working today. I believe it is. Yep, here it comes. Can we all see this?
Yep.
Yes, this is the mini Aceman concept. Now it hints at a new electric crossover. It's a bit larger than what we're used to from Mini, but not too large. They plan to be all electric by 2030. Time flies, you guys. So these plans, they may sound like they're quite a bit down the road, but 2030 will be here before we know it. And I think this is fascinating because Ray loves Mini so much. He previously was a sales manager at a Mini dealership, right? Or how would you characterize
General
Ray's
manager, I think.
general manager?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a general manager at Mini.
And does he have a Mini right now?
He does. He just got a new one a couple months ago.
Yeah. So I want to see what he thinks about this.
Yeah, I would be curious because he's not the biggest EV fan,
Yeah, we
but he loves the Mini. So I'd like to see. I'd love to see him get in one and see how that struggles back and forth with him.
Now this is fascinating to me. It says this is from Mini brand boss Stephanie Wurst. She said they're going after an electrified go-kart feel. I don't have anything bad to say about that, but I'm kind of surprised that was the wording they chose.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's.
I mean,
Mm,
I like to tell people that my car is like a really fast, comfortable golf cart, but I'm aware that that's kind of a joke when I say it. I don't know
yeah,
if Stephanie Wurst was intending to convey that, but
that's not how I would sell my vehicle if I was. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
but
like
we're
a really fast riding lawnmower. It's not
yeah.
the best. It's not the best sales pitch.
But we're looking forward to seeing what Mini can do with their electrified plans 2030. Now, this reminds me of how Stellantis, which, includes, oh, remind me, what are all the brands on Stellantis? There's so many.
Oh,
Buick,
Jeep and yeah. I mean, they have a lot.
Renault in Europe, Jeep, Buick.
Let's see,
Man.
what are all the brands? Fiat Chrysler.
Yeah, Chrysler's the one I was forgetting. Yeah.
Yeah,
This big conglomerate, I believe it's the third largest automaker in the world technically, because it's such a large conglomerate. They say they're going all electric by 2028. I believe them because it's 5.5 years time. But here's the deal. In the United States right now, Stellantis has 0 fully electric vehicles on the market. They may bring their first to market late next year, but from 0 to 100% in 5.5 years, not to mention what I predict will be battery shortages due to the aforementioned global socioeconomic. I'm not socioeconomic, the geopolitical, that's the word. All that stuff. I think we're going to see that pushed back to like 2035, but I'm
well,
wishing them the best.
I would like to know if when they're electrifying the Maserati line. Then I don't. I would be curious to see if Maserati owners want an electric Maserati. Like if that's
Yes.
even if they care about that. Like I feel like those are the ones who want that rumble and the roar and I can't see a lot of them like They would have a Model S already then, if that's what they wanted.
Yeah, I was next to a Maserati just the other day in traffic, and it sounded unhealthy because it was so rumbly and grumbly. I was like, that can't be good.
We
But
had
that
a lot of them drive by my old restaurant in downtown Sacramento, and the problem is they're going, 2 miles an hour, and that engine doesn't want to do that. So it's loud and it's rumbling because it wants to move, it wants to go, and you're just killing it sitting in traffic.
yeah. Yep. One other thing I want to share is an experience I had at a charger recently. I shared it with Zach, but I don't think I've had the chance to share it with you. So, when I was in North Carolina, just the other day, I was charging and someone pulled up to the station with no AC on and their Kia EV6, no AC at all. Have I told you this story, Justice?
I think you shared it on Monday's live stream.
Okay, yeah. That
Yeah,
was fascinating because
yeah, that was. There's so much education that needs to happen, and there's so much disinformation out there. I mean, I
yes.
see it in comments and in our chats, and that's just a little segment of it. When you go out into the wide world, there's so much disinformation about these EVs, and it's hard to pick through all of it.
I feel like dealers need to do more, but I also
Yeah.
kind of don't blame them for not rushing and not taking it seriously because think about the ups and
Well,
downs of the automotive world in the past 2 years. Um, they definitely
well,
need to do more though. They need to do more.
if it is incumbent on the salesperson. I, as a former salesperson, can tell you that you need to know about the vehicle that you're selling, and you need to know how to counter some of the false narratives that are out there. I wasn't even selling EV; I was just selling Toyota, and people would come in with all kinds of crazy things about them, and you need to know, how to respond to those. You need to know the specs of your vehicles. And any salesman who's just like, I don't know, it's just an EV, just go, they're doing disservice to their customers.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled into a Hyundai service station trying to get my rattling trunk fixed. That's my greatest complaint right now is my rattling hatch door. And I pulled up to the service bay at the Hyundai dealership and the guy saw my car and he asked if I was here for an oil change. So I mean, there's just there's a lot that needs to happen, but I think GM's new website is a step in the right direction, especially because they're so committed to being fully electric in just 12 years time. um, they have a new website to basically live chat with people who want to ask questions about EVs, what it's like to own them, home charging, range, etc. Maybe they could even ask questions about dealer markups, who knows. But I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. You can book a tour with an EV specialist to learn about home and public charging, battery tech, etc. This is definitely awesome, but we need to see more education at the dealership level if automakers are going to commit to sticking to the dealership model, which, let's be real, for the time being, they are.
Yeah, for right now. But I mean, so this goes into what Tesla used to do, right? You can still go in and test drive, but when you used to pick it up, they used to have a delivery expert walk through. It took about an hour and a half, and they walked you through every feature of the vehicle, answered every single question you had. And as deliveries ramp up, that's happening less. I heard from a friend who bought one recently that they didn't get that at all. They basically got, here's the stuff, here's how you work the screen, see ya. And they didn't get that one-on-one experience. And if
Hmm.
the OEM's not going to do that, the dealers really need to make sure that you're walking through, and this would probably be in sales, that you're walking through all the features and answering all the questions on this. It's so
Yeah.
very important for any vehicle, let alone a new technology like EV that people just don't fully understand.
Yeah, and I've got a sample size of 2 for my opinion, but I think it could be especially bad over at Kia because I was at another charging station and another Kia EV6 driver was trying to plug in out of the whole Electrify America station, the one CHAdeMO connector was trying to fit the CHAdeMO connector, which for anyone who doesn't know, that's for the Nissan Leaf only. It's phasing out. They were trying to use that outdated connector in their EV6, and I went and helped them out. But it's interesting being the person who has to triage the situation at Electrify America stations quite often, because that's what I do. I've been to Tesla superchargers. I've got friends who've got Model 3s, and I know what the supercharger experience is like, and you can't screw that up. You just like plug it into the car.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, that's an argument to be made for standardizing.
Yeah.
There's an argument away from that too, but there's an argument to be made for just making sure that everything's standardized and you can plug anything in. I would hate it if I couldn't go to Chevron because the nozzle doesn't fit my tank. I can only go to Shell
hmm
because that's what like that seems like a ridiculous concept, but that's where we are in the EV world right now, and that needs to change.
Yeah. I hesitate to recommend fully electric vehicles to anyone who travels frequently. Like I'm talking a few times a month. But I think for most Americans, we're getting pretty close to it being accessible and a no-brainer because of this fuel savings. But there's a lot of nuance out there, and that's why we're here at YAA to talk to you guys on the community forum and try to help you decide if an EV might be the right choice for you, because sometimes it's not, and I'm always honest about that. So if you'd like to chat with us more, be sure to check out the YAA community forum over at joinyaa.com. We have a EV specific forum, but we've also got general car buying forums. We've got enthusiast forums. By no means is YAA just about EVs. In fact, we're just one little part of a much greater, awesome initiative and pro consumer thing that we've got going on that we're all really proud of. And Justice, you're a big part of that.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'm in the community once in a while. If you have EV questions, though, also feel free to jump on to live chat and ask me. I'll be happy to
Yeah.
answer any of your questions.
Yes. So please like and subscribe. We really are trying to grow this channel. We've had a lot of growth in the past month. Justice, thank you for being a huge part of that. Got some new videos coming out pretty soon with the one and only Ray, where we get to see what he thinks about the latest EV news. That'll be dropping tomorrow. And we're on Instagram posting pictures of EVs. And sometimes it's not just a picture, it might be some of the latest data that just kind of blows your mind in the electric world. So check us out on Instagram, YAA Electric. We will see you guys on Friday. Not sure what we're going to talk about, but I bet something newsworthy will happen by then.
We'll see. Maybe Tesla will get some federal funding for expanding the charging network.
I would be a big fan. We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Justice. And don't forget, we've got the Ray and Zach show live in just 16 minutes. So head over to Ray and Zach show to see the latest news about new and used car prices and dealer shenanigans. See you guys later.